What if Naruto was a tailed beast part 4? Let's go. Naruto, as well as Team 7, saw the third Hokage's grandson, Hiruzen's grandson, being harassed by an older boy that seemed to be their age, if not even older. Konohamaru was being harassed by Kankuro from the hidden sand. Naruto immediately rushed over there and tried to disperse the situation, but Kankuro was not having it. He seemed to be angry at Kankuro because of that, but then silence struck as Gaara jumped up from the tree that he was relaxing in. Naruto's face turned to Gaara as a tear shed down his face. Shukaku. It's you, isn't it? As Gaara's eyes turned slit-like, and Gaara as well indeed started crying. As Naruto and Gaara were having a conversation together in their minds through telepathy, so no one else would disturb them. Kankuro and Temari were in pure shock, as Gaara had never been the kind of guy to show emotions, and he was so, quote-unquote, weird that he didn't even sleep. His one and only character trait was the fact that he was the one-tailed Jinchuriki, and it basically consumed him. It was a big part of him, and made a lot of things difficult for him, but enabled others like his fighting style and sand control. Without the tailed beast, he would be a completely different person. And this, they'd never seen or expected. Konohamaru now started yelling that Naruto was siding with the enemies, but then Naruto snapped back to reality, wiped a tear off his face, and told Konohamaru that it was alright. Naruto and Gaara both started heading towards different directions as they parted ways, and would only see each other once again during the exams for the rank of Chunin. Konohamaru went along with Naruto, and of course, Gaara's siblings, Kankuro and Temari, went along with him. Then Naruto got back to his team, as then he told Konohamaru to leave, go back to wherever he came from, and then Team 7 was actually going to go to the Chunin exams. Well, of course, they still have a little bit of time, but that would then pursue. Boom, now we're at the day of the Chunin exams, and everyone is ready to give it their all. Naruto is walking at the front, Sakura, Sasuke a little bit in the back to either side, making almost a triangle shape with their heads and bodies. And at this point, Naruto looks chill. He has both his hands behind his head, walking as if he's laying down, if you know what I mean. Sasuke has a look of superiority, and Sakura, well, she just thinks that those two are very, very strong, as they are. As Naruto has not even shown his true power yet, and he's already extremely powerful. They easily, or rather, Naruto easily looks through the Genjutsu, as he politely asks Sasuke to disperse it, and then they move on. Then they seem to be challenged by two people. Neji is giving Sasuke an angry look and wanting to fight him, and Rock Lee, his teammate, well, he just wants to fight anyone, but especially Sasuke or Naruto, as he knows of their power. He doesn't mind who, he just wants to fight, and as Neji is currently talking with Sasuke, Rock Lee goes over to Naruto. Naruto's completely uninterested and says, "Yo, I'm just not in the mood. Could we do this some other time? Let's just focus on the exam for now. Would that be okay?" "Thank you so much." He didn't even wait for an answer for Rock Lee, and then he just continued, moving Sakura closely behind his back, and then Sasuke catching up later. Now, a minute later, they were all ready and entered the exam room for the first exam of the Chunin exams. It was explained that it would be a written test, as Ibiki explained some of the rules, though a lot of them were actually not true. Naruto expected there to be a lie of rules, and actually did not mind anything that the instructors told him to do, and just kind of did his own thing. He answered some of the questions, of course some of them he didn't know, as they were very, very hard. Similar to Sasuke and Sakura, which also tried the same, though Sasuke struggled the most as he's not that great at these questions. However, they did stick around for the 10th question. That was the truth of the exam, is just to see if they take the risk and actually stay for their reward. The 10th question did not matter, or rather actually completing any of the questions, it was just to see if they stick around. They did, and so they moved on to the next exam, as it began right away as Anko jumped through the window, introduced himself, and told everyone to go to the Forest of Death. Then she explained the rules as when everyone got there, and then the exam began. But not before Naruto made a silly comment about how this is going super easy right now, and then he's just gonna walk through the entire exam when Anko threw a kunai at him, and somebody behind him caught it. Now, Naruto could have caught it, but he knew that it wasn't gonna hit him at all, as he just slightly moved his face in a different direction without anyone noticing, so the kunai didn't hit him at all, and he just didn't care what happened afterwards. Then somebody else gave Anko her kunai back, as now the actual exam began, or continued, whatever. Naruto with his team, he led his team into the forest, having already one scroll, as that was what you had at the beginning of the exam, and then they were to fight another team that had a different scroll than them. They tried to look for weak teams, but knew that those teams were going to get picked off first, and they would probably have to fight a medium power team. They mostly just wanted to avoid Gaara's team, as they knew those were probably the most strongest, but also Neji and Rock Lee's team was pretty strong too. So Naruto and his team kind of hid for now. Naruto had to go to the bathroom, and then came back, but actually, it wasn't the real Naruto. It was a transformation jutsu of a different opponent, or rather, an opponent from a different village. However, Sasuke easily took care of it, as then the real Naruto came back, unhurt from any wandering snakes, if you know what I mean. But when Naruto arrived back at his two team members, before they could exchange any words, they heard a loud scream. It seemed to come from a girl southwest of them. They headed in that direction and saw Sasuke's sister, who is fighting some opponents from a different village that he didn't know of. Meanwhile, one of her teammates was on the floor with a bruise on his back, wide open, and it was bleeding all over the floor. Meanwhile, Mitsumori was also helping fighting their opponents, as yes, you heard right, Mitsumori and Sasuke's sister, Shiryu, are on the same team. Well, same Genin team, if that makes sense. Sasuke immediately rushes in, not even wanting to hear a different strategy that they should try, as his sister was in danger, and his brotherly instincts took over. She immediately went in with his Sharingan activated, and started going mad, throwing kunais all over, kicking and punching like a madman. But Naruto understood Sasuke's feelings, as then he tried to help his fellow Genin, and went in with a fight as well. Naruto was a huge asset with his insane speed. He immediately took down one of the enemy Genin, and from there, they were able to take out the rest easily and tie them up, and take their scroll. Mitsumori and Shiryu's injured teammate was looked after by Naruto and Sakura, as Sakura of course had some basic knowledge of medical training, but Naruto actually had a little bit of training on it. I mean, number one, his chakra control was out of this world, as he was basically the child of two chakra sources. As you gotta remember, the tail beasts aren't actually alive, they're more of just chakra that took a personality. As they can die, they'll revive, there's not an issue in that. So they're not technically alive, and they were just made, if you know what I mean. So Naruto being the son and having chakra of the all, as you gotta remember, he made pacts with them all, and is especially the children of Kurama and Matsutabi. His chakra control and chakra potential is insane. So he can focus his chakra on his palm and lead it through his fellow Genin's back, and give the Genin boy healing abilities for a few seconds. As his pain mildens, the wound slowly started closing, and the genin came to consciousness again. Now Sasuke was weirded out, but asked if his sister was okay, and she said she was fine, but was a little stressed and angry at herself. She should have done a better job and protected her teammate well, but the others tell her that it was okay, and it wasn't really her fault, especially Mitsumoru, who says that he should have done more too and should have actually been there, as he seemed to be mentally unpresent that day, or rather, that moment. Naruto goes over to Shiru and does a little bit of small talk, but makes weird kind of jokes that seem inappropriate for the situation, but kind of lighten the mood. At first, Shiru is a little bit mad and confused, but kind of makes sense, and with time, she gets used to it. But after about 3 hours, they part ways again, as Team 7 wants to get a scroll, and then they could help the others to get their scroll. And if they didn't get it that day, they would come back later and stay the same, well, 2 groups together for the night, as it'd be better. For example, 2 people could always stay on the lookout for others, while the rest can sleep, instead of, well, one team being much more vulnerable. So Team 7 went out and looked for some easy scrolls to get. They found some Konoha teams which they but just passed by, as they had no interest in fighting each other and their peers that they'd grown up for around so long. However, then they saw one from the hidden mist, as they immediately went in for a fight, Naruto and Sasuke for a close range, as Naruto immediately took 2 of them out, and Sasuke the one other, the one that had the scroll. Then they got their scroll, and made their way back to the other team, which, by the way, for this, I'm going to say is Team 6. So now the 2 teams, Team 6 and Team 7, got together again, as they talked some more and took care of the injured teammate of Team 6. Naruto kept talking with Mitsumori and Shiru, as they had a bond. Of course, Mitsumori and Naruto were close friends, but Shiru also had grown a little bit attached to Naruto. She'd seen him quite a few times, of course, usually when Sasuke was there, but even sometimes alone, and had actually grown to appreciate Naruto. Then, when they were almost going to sleep, the girl that caught Anku's kunai at the beginning of the exam came to Team 13 is what I'm going to call them now, because it's Team 6 and 7 together, and everyone knows that 6 plus 7 is just 7 plus 7 minus 1, which is 13. Thank you for the math lesson. Let's continue with the what if. So this girl actually started peeling off her own skin on her face with her hands, and revealed to be, instead of a young girl taking the Chunin exams, she was actually, well, he was actually Orochimaru, a middle-aged Sannin man. Quite the transformation. Orochimaru licked his lips, saying that there were so many good vessels and candidates here. And he was right about that. There was Sasuke, there was Mitsumori, there was Naruto, though he was a little bit of a mystery, and wasn't sure about that. Though, of course, Sasuke and Shiru, well, they had the Sharingan. They were good picks. Mitsumori, well, he had Uzumaki and Namikaze blood. Pretty strong genes, and pretty good training too. So, Orochimaru could just take any one of them, and he'd be more than satisfied. Even better, if he took all 3 of them, though that was a little much to ask for. So, Orochimaru insinuated a fight, and Naruto's not going to sit around and talk, as he was the one that stood up from the rock he was sitting on, and then cracked his knuckles, grasped the air with his right hand, and as he closed his hand into a fist, his aura seemed to change from neutral to a purplish tone. When he started fighting Naruto, Orochimaru was easily winning, as he was actually taking this somewhat seriously. Though still, Naruto had more power than Orochimaru thought he would, which was pretty surprising. Then Naruto, seeing that he was great being overpowered by this weird man, he took it up a notch, made his chakra cloak even stronger, and powered up into his Biju form. Now, it's not completely a Biju form, but as he is pretty much half human, half tailed beast at this point, at least from his looks, he changed more and more into a tailed beast, now gaining 12 tails, as at first they started as faint chakra tails, but then grew more and more realistic and detailed, with a purplish color with white stripes in them, so much so that they became physically real. Naruto's power seemed to double, triple, and quadruple as it shot through the roof. He jumped forward, and his speed could not even be compared to what Orochimaru was fighting just a second ago, as a real fight now broke out. This fight, higher than the level of even normal Jonin could relate to. How's this battle gonna end? You'll see on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z Kai. Anyways, that's gonna be it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.